What's going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aiden, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, obviously with the Chicago Bulls season coming to an end, there were a lot of, post-season interviews with some of our Chicago Bulls players, discussing the future, discussing some of the questions about the season, what went wrong for the season, what went right for the season. And in those conversations, there was a very interesting one that came out from Coby White. Now, I know a lot of people are very excited to hopefully see Coby White come back next season, but there are certain things that he said in his interview, obviously being a restricted free agent, that I wanted to bring to the occasion today as a potential risk factor, or maybe it could be something that will help Coby White in the process of bringing him back to the Chicago Bulls. And I want to discuss all these things in this video. Before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls and whether or not you believe we will bring back Coby White, we will extend Coby White, and obviously he'll be available to play for the Chicago Bulls next season. Now, he said a lot of great things in his interview, and again, I do like these interviews, but at the same time, with these interviews with guys like Coby White, DeMar DeRozan, Vucevic, and all these other guys, and our coach as well, it does feel like it's kind of like a hype for next season type of situation, like, oh, we'll be better next season and stuff like that. We'll work on things in the off-season, which again, I'm not sure if that's their intention or not, but that's kind of the vibe that I get watching these interviews, saying, look, this season didn't go as planned. There are certain things that we did well towards the end of the season and stuff like that, and we'll be ready for next season, whatever the future may be for next season and stuff like that. And I understand it, and again, I normally am the type of person that would be very hyped at the moment, but our season just came to an end. The Bulls season has been a long and draining one. I'm not really on board at the moment of trying to hype the Chicago Bulls for next season, because that's still a long way away. And until then, we have to watch teams that, personally, I feel like we should be in those positions in the NBA playoffs. We've missed out, so we're watching other teams be in the position that I feel the Bulls need to be in. So, again, I'm not necessarily terribly happy with the Chicago Bulls right now, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. Let's move on into the Coby White situation. And some of the things that Coby White said was very interesting. He talked about his off-season, what he plans to do. He wants to focus more on his dribbling. He wants to be better off the dribble. He wants to shoot off the dribble and stuff like that. So expect Coby White, wherever he is next season, to be further a more improved ball handler than he already is, and to be a guy that can beat people off the dribble and do things off the dribble in relation to shooting the mid-range, shooting the three-point shot, stuff like that. Pretty much what Zach LaVine has been doing for a while now for the Chicago Bulls, just shooting off the dribble and stuff of that nature. So, look, we'll see how the progression lies with Coby White. He's talked a lot about how he's improved in every aspect of the game, how his overall game has improved, how he's focusing more on being himself than trying to be something he's not, and stuff like that. That's all great news, but the one thing I wanted to talk about today is that Coby White has the ambitions of being an NBA starter in this league, and that would include with the Chicago Bulls. That is a big, big statement to make for Coby White. He said it at the beginning of the season, and he's basically reiterated that ambition has not changed. He sees himself as a starting point guard in this league, and he wants to be a starter going forward. That is a huge statement to make, and it puts, I guess, the Chicago Bulls, it puts the NBA on notice that, hey, I'm willing to do a lot for your team, but I want to be a starter in doing so. And again, that is with Coby White, there's no problem saying that, in my opinion. Look, he's 21, 22 years old, along those lines of that age, has improved dramatically in this season. A lot of people have turned their eyes and turned their opinions around on Coby White, and they've been praising him to the moon and back recently. And him wanting to be a starting point guard in this league is not out of the realms of possibility. Now, I wouldn't put him as a starting point guard for a contending team right now, but he has the potential to be a great starting point guard in this league. And I think in the last ends of the season, he has proven his worth at the point guard position. From all the people not wanting him to have the ball in his hands, I think he's done the necessary steps for Bulls fans to trust the ball in his hands a little bit more this season. And I think it's only going to get better if we extend him in future years. But starting point guard, it's not a bad thing to say from Coby White's perspective, but there's two sides of the coin here. You now have to look at the Chicago Bulls perspective. And the question for you guys as Bulls fans, Bulls management, and everything in between is that, do you want Coby White to be your starting point guard next season? And there is a lot of questions, a lot of answers there, and I feel like that will still split opinion. As much as people like Coby White, I'm not necessarily sure people are ready to see Coby White as the starting point guard for the Chicago Bulls going forward. And the reason why is that obviously, A, we still don't know the situation about Lonzo Ball, which means, look, if Lonzo Ball comes back and in the realms of possibility, he's 100% healthy, and he gets back to his top level, do you see Coby White start for the Chicago Bulls in future years to come? That's a question that we need to ask ourselves. 2, I think out of all the positions for the Chicago Bulls that needs to be filled, we need shooting 100%. I still think we need a little bit more size on our team, 100%. But at the same time, I think a starting point guard role needs to be filled. Do you trust that to be filled with Coby White, or do you go and get outside help to make sure that we do get a good starting quality point guard into the team, and you put Coby White on the bench, which you clearly can see he doesn't want to be on the bench his entire career. And the more time he spends on the bench, the more likely he will be a bench player for the rest of his career. So again, it's one of the situations where I think a lot of people will split their opinions. I think a lot of people will say wait and see on Lonzo Ball for the long-term future. A lot of people will say get a point guard in now for the short-term future. And a lot of people that love Coby White will say give him a chance at the point guard position next season. There are so many ways to, I guess, go at this question. But here's my thought process, right? As a restricted free agent, it's not necessarily all up to him to determine whether or not he will be a Chicago Bull or not. He has said in his interview as well that he would be happy to stay in Chicago. He loves the Chicago fan base. He loves the Chicago Bulls and stuff of that nature, which again, I think everybody will say if they're a Bulls player, but it doesn't necessarily mean he doesn't mean it. I think he wants to be a Chicago Bull and he wants his future to be here, but he also wants to be a starter. So there are conversations that needs to be had. Maybe the front office can promise him a long-term point guard position in which he might not be starting next season or the season after, but if he extends his, I guess, contract for 4 years, for example, maybe in the final 2 years of his contract, if he has proven to improve his game every step of the way at 24, 25 years of age, he could be the starting point guard for the Chicago Bulls. Maybe there is a long-term arrangement to see Coby White as a starting point guard, or maybe he's willing to accept that bench option to stay here, and it all depends on the money that he gets from other teams, the money that he gets from the Chicago Bulls. Again, I don't know those conversations, but what I'm trying to say is I think there are ways around this conversation to extend Coby White. I don't think, maybe I could be wrong here, I don't think we should be forcing Coby White to be the starting point guard next season if he's not ready to be that. And there's still room for improvement for Coby White, in my opinion. But there's still, again, so many ways to come at this conversation. If you're asking me what I would do, personally, I would not make a decision on Coby White just yet in terms of starting point guard. Would I extend him? Absolutely. I think as a bench player or as a starting player, I want Coby White to be here. There's no doubts in my mind about it. I think there are ways that you can convince Coby White to stay as a Chicago Bull, but be a bench player for the short term at least. I get that. There are so many ways that we can do that, in my opinion. And of course, as a restricted free agent, we have the final say in that situation, unless Coby White will publicly say he wants to leave Chicago. And if that happens, well then it's game over. I don't think we're going to keep a player that doesn't want to be here. But again, he has stated that he wants to be here, which is huge, a huge bonus for the Chicago Bulls. I would personally look at free agency, look at the scope and the landscape in the point guard areas, see what we can get. Again, you still have question marks on Ayo Dosunmu, you still have question marks on Patrick Beverley. You could not extend Vooch by the end of the season as well. That will give you more money to pursue a point guard help. But look at the landscape of the point guard position first and see which players could potentially want to join the Chicago Bulls project. See which players, obviously, you don't feel like you have a chance for. See which players you might want to bring in, but could potentially be a bench option. For example, I asked this question in the play-in tournament with the Toronto Raptors game, and I'm going to say here, with Patrick Beverley's help, he has had a big help, in my opinion, on the defensive end. There's no doubt about it. But in terms of a starting point guard spot, do you really think Coby White could do worse than Patrick Beverley? And honestly, the more time that goes by, the more my answer is I think Coby White could be a starter and Patrick Beverley could be on the bench. If we were to keep this team next season the way that it currently is, I would start Coby White over Patrick Beverley. So again, to kind of sum it up, what I'm trying to say is that we don't necessarily, if you want to start Coby White as the point guard for the Chicago Bulls, let's say there is no good quality starting point guard out there, I still believe we need point guard help, even if it's off of the bench. And if that's Patrick Beverley that's going to come in off of the bench, that's okay for me personally, but I think we do need better in the point guard areas, in all honesty. And we'll wait and see if Coby White's going to be the answer for that. But regardless, I want Coby White to be here, and my answer is look at free agency, look at what's there, see if you could get a top quality point guard into this team, and if not, give Coby White that chance and see what ends up happening in the long term. Maybe he can develop, and look, his development has been smooth from obviously 2 seasons ago to last season now. The development has been smooth. Give him a chance to develop into a starting point guard. But my answer so far, I wouldn't rush him into the starting point guard spot next season unless there is no other really good quality point guard out there in the market that we can go after. So that's a question that we need to answer, and of course, it's part of a long list of free agency questions that we will need answered. But it's a start, ladies and gentlemen, and of course, with the offseason basically for us starting now, these questions are for the front office to answer, and they're going to have a long time to think about it and figure out what's the best approach for the Chicago Bulls. And I think Coby White being here is one of the best approaches. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next Chicago Bulls video. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.